All righty, let's get started. So tonight I am going to be talking about all things CBD. And I hope this isn't going to get too technical, but I got a lot of information to run through. And I'm really going to try to keep this under an hour. So just a little bit about me. I know you all know me, but for those watching the recording, my name is Allie Phillips. My business is called Manifested Harmony, which I have owned and opened about 9.5 years ago. I have spent the last actually 26 years in the field of criminal prosecution, focusing on protecting animals and family violence cases. I'm also the founder and CEO of Sheltering Animals and Families Together, which is a nonprofit helping domestic violence shelters to create on-site pet housing. And I've written a lot of books. I have a lot of energy healing certifications. I'm also a certified health coach. I educate a lot on essential oils, and I am multi-careered. So I use a lot of oils and a lot of CBD. So let's just dive right in, because I often get the question, what is CBD? Why is CBD important? Why is it all of a sudden the big thing? So here's the thing, it's not just a fad. It is a real part of communities around the world. And my goal in this presentation is to help you feel empowered in what you know about CBD and how you can utilize it with your own health goals. So keep in mind, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, I'm not going to prescribe or advise in any professional capacity. I'm just going to share what I know through my research and using CBD. And I would encourage you to do your own research yourself. And one of the best books is The Power of CBD and Essential Oils by Dr. Oliver Wenker, W-E-N-K-E-R. He is phenomenal, and this book gives you everything that you need to know. So what is CBD? So first and foremost, CBD is not marijuana. It is not. They are both from the same plant, the hemp plant, but they are different varieties. So marijuana is produced when the hemp plant is grown without the male variety nearby. Okay? This may not make sense, but it will in a minute. So the resin produced from these small little hair-like appendages of all the female plants is actually full of THC. THC is the psychoactive part of the hemp plant that can cause hallucinations. And that is what is associated with marijuana. So leave it up to the female part to cause hallucinations. So in CBD, which stands for cannabidiol, it is a natural substance from a different variety of hemp. And when it's produced, when the hemp plant is grown, it has both the female and the male parts of the plant. And this is what makes it different. So the resin that is produced from this hemp plant is full of CBD, cannabidiol, and it does not contain the same heavy psychoactive effects of THC. It has small amounts of THC in it. Now, with the hemp that produces CBD, there are 113 compounds, and CBD is one of those 113 compounds. So when it comes to the hemp plant, there are so many parts of it. There are so many uses for it. CBD is just one aspect of it. So just a little history about CBD, because it was illegal. Was it a bad thing? I don't think so. Here's why. Hemp originated in Asia and the Middle East thousands of years ago, and it has since spread worldwide. It showed up in the United States back in about the 16th century, and farmers actually used to be fined if a certain percentage of their production was not hemp, because hemp is incredibly useful. They used it for paper, for food, for fiber, for construction materials, for clothes and other products. And it detoxes the dirt that it's in, it cleans it. So what changed? Well, in the 1920s, some negative media war was waged on hemp due to financial, possibly corrupt reasons. And it was eventually deemed a Schedule I controlled substance, which is illegal. This category is for substances that have no benefit and have a high potential for abuse, which is actually not true of hemp or CBD or even of marijuana. So fast forward almost 100 years later, because it's been illegal that whole time, fast forward about 100 years later, and in July of 2018, CBD was downgraded from a Schedule I controlled substance to a Schedule V controlled substance. And that meant that they finally admitted that it has some benefit and the potential for abuse was very low. And the FDA changed the category so that the only FDA approved CBD drug called Epidiolex could actually be sold. It's kind of funny that when a drug company wants something to be legal, they just get the laws changed. I just always find that fascinating as an attorney. But then finally in December of 2018, just like a mere 18 or 20 months ago, CBD went from a Schedule V controlled substance to an unscheduled substance because of the Hemp Farming Act of 2018 that was actually put into the Farm Bill. And I'll tell you, I have done a lot of legislative work on the Farm Bill, and that was like a 25,000 page document. So they got the Hemp Farming Act in there, which removed hemp as a controlled substance. And in the definition of hemp, the cannabis has to be less than 0.3% of THC, the psychoactive part of it. So this federal law made CBD legal in all 50 states, but some states actually have their own regulations. So it's really important to know what the regulations of your state are. And then other countries have their own regulations. And if you're in the military, CBD in any form is not allowed. So let's talk about the endocannabinoid system that is actually in our body. Because yes, we actually have a system called the endocannabinoid system. And I'm like, wait a minute, what came first? Our endocannabinoid system or the cannabidiol that we know as CBD? Because I think that's very interesting. So the endocannabinoid system is a biological system that our body has that is composed of these endocannabinoids. And I could get all sciencey here, but I'm really going to avoid that. In basic terms, this system is linked to your central nervous system, your peripheral nervous system, in order to help your body maintain homeostasis. Okay, so what is homeostasis? Homeostasis is when your body is balanced. So it's not too hyper or too hypo, it is centered and it is balanced. So this endocannabinoid system in our body regulates appetite, pain, mood, memory, our nervous system, our digestive system, our immune system. Ding, 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 ding. That's kind of a big deal right now. It regulates inflammation, energy, sleep, reproduction, motor control, temperature, and pleasure. So is there anything that it really doesn't regulate? It kind of regulates a lot. Now, when any of these get out of whack and out of balance, the endocannabinoid system sends out endocannabinoids and enzymes into our body, and they travel all over the place in order to bring our body back into balance. So it's like it sends out the army, and our body just naturally does it. So, for example, when you get too hot, you will naturally sweat to bring your body temperature down. And when you get too cold, you shiver. And when you get hungry, your stomach growls. And when you get tired, you yawn. And this is our body sending out the endocannabinoids and the enzymes to balance us and get us back into homeostasis. So our body actually makes endocannabinoids, but are you making enough of them? If not, disease can set in. So let's talk about THC versus CBD. So THC is a psychoactive compound in cannabis. So when we look at what CBD does in the body, it works on what we call CBD receptors. All of our cells have these receptors, and things latch onto them. And as long as the receptors are working, they can absorb. So for example, they can absorb your vitamins and your minerals and medication and essential oils, but they can also absorb CBD. And there's two proven receptors in the endocannabinoid system. There might be more, but there's two that absolutely are there and can work with CBD. There's CB1, and those receptors are in the central nervous system. So they're dealing with the brain and the nerves of the spinal cord. And lots of other things, but those are the two big ones. And then CB2 receptors are found all over the body in the peripheral nervous system. Those are the nerves in your extremities. It's also, the CB2 receptors are in your digestive system and are in your immune system. So THC acts on the CB1 and CB2 receptors. It absolutely attaches to it. So when they attach to CB1 in the brain, it causes the intoxicating effects that you get with marijuana and with using CBD that has THC in it. It also affects the peripheral nervous system when it attaches to CB2, which is why some who smoke marijuana feel calmer or have decreased pain. It's why cancer patients receiving chemotherapy are prescribed medical marijuana. The effects on the digestive system help prevent nausea. So I just want to say that exposure to THC does have its risks, such as developing schizophrenia. You can fail a drug test. It can cause illegal activity. I saw that all the time as a prosecutor. And some people are just genetically more sensitive to THC. Now, on the other hand, CBD binds differently to CB1 and CB2. And it does it by modifying the receptors so that they can actually bind to the CBD. So because of how CBD works differently, CBD is not necessarily going to give you the high, but I am going to talk about the processing of CBD where you can actually remove the THC completely, so you never have to worry about that. Okay, let's talk about terpenes, all right? So terpenes are a big, big, big deal when it comes to CBD. So terpenes give plants their aroma. The fragrant imprint of each plant is a result of different combinations of terpenes. Terpenes are just, parts and pieces of plants. So terpenes are believed to have many positive effects on the body. And there are several known and studied terpenes that all exhibit different medicinal effects. So overall, terpenes contribute to the medicinal properties of cannabis. And what this phenomenon is known as is the entourage effect. So I'd love to know in the chat if you have ever heard of the entourage effect, because this is what CBD does in the body. It's also what essential oils do in the body. But the entourage effect is, just think of it like a team of players on a football team versus just having one player on a football team. The team is much stronger together. They play well together. They actually can work to success. And that team is the entourage effect. And the entourage effect is when the terpenes are with the cannabinoids. So terpenes are also in essential oils. So you're actually going to find out why Young Living put essential oils in their CBD. So how do you choose your CBD? So here's a very interesting piece of information, and this is what really sticks in my mind about when choosing CBD. Farmers like to grow hemp because it pulls toxins and heavy metals out of the soil. So it's being grown in areas like Kentucky that used to be full of tobacco fields. But an unfortunate byproduct of the tobacco fields is that the soil is leached with arsenic. This is why farmers like hemp, because hemp goes into the soil and it cleans it up. Now I'm going to come back to this because this is a really important aspect in the type of CBD that you choose, because there's so many. I mean, even local gas stations sell CBD. You know, here in the mid-Michigan area, I mean, we've got local like Stop and Shops that sell CBD. There is a video rental store that sells CBD. Please, please, please do not buy your CBD from those stores. Quality is a big factor. So I want to talk about just a couple of different types of CBD so that you can know what is best for you. So full spectrum CBD is by far the most popular. If you look at all the brands that are on the market, and they are flooding the market like crazy, full spectrum is the most popular. Now, full spectrum contains everything from the plant, the root, the stem, the leaves, the buds. I want you to think back to what I said about farmers like to grow hemp because it pulls toxins and heavy metals out of the soil. Where do you think the toxins and the heavy metals go? They go into the plant. So when you're using a full spectrum CBD, you could have those toxins in the product, because full spectrum means the full spectrum of the hemp plant. So it has the CBD, it has the THC, it's got plant esters, it's got flavonoids, the terpenes, it's got chlorophyll, which is really good for the body. It's got all the stuff in it. So using full spectrum, even if it says, you know, we are THC free, I think you really need to question the company when they say that, because there is still a possibility of exposure to THC. So if you work in an industry where you cannot test positive for having THC in your system, full spectrum would not be the way to go. Now, with full spectrum, the flavors tend to be quite unpleasant because it tastes very weedy. I mean, it tastes like a weed. So it tends to be unpleasant. But here's the thing. There are no FDA standards on what any of these labels mean. So the labeling laws are pretty much non-existent. And so anybody can say anything on a label. And so while even with a full spectrum, in order to be sold over the counter, all CBD has to be below 0.3% THC. But what they are finding in testing is many companies are mixing in other things into the bottle. And so you don't know what you're getting until you take a drug test. And THC can accumulate in the body. And the traces of the heavy metals absorbed from the soil may be left behind in a full spectrum product. So a lot of people, though, gravitate toward full spectrum CBD because it contains the terpenes that deliver that entourage effect. And the entourage effect is, it's like a cascading, like a snowball effect in the body that just spreads the homeostasis all throughout the body. Now, a second way that CBD is produced is called CBD isolate. And what they do is they isolate the CBD from everything else. So pure CBD isolate is a crystalline powder that only contains the CBD. It absolutely has 0% of THC. Like the process cannot have, the THC cannot survive the process of taking everything out. So all the plant matter is removed, including the oils, the terpenes, the waxes, the chlorophyll, the THC, everything is removed. And a reputable company will use an extraction process called supercritical CO2. So you can actually consume a CBD isolate without any fear of testing positive for THC. But here's the thing. When you isolate the CBD and take out the terpenes are create the entourage effect. So why would anybody use a CBD isolate? That's a really good question. So and I'm going to talk about what Young Living does with their Nature's Ultra CBD. They use a process called Smart Spectrum, where they isolate the CBD, where it is just pure crystalline powder CBD. That's it. There is nothing else in it. And they create the entourage effect by adding essential oils packed with terpenes. And that's how they do it. I never understood initially, why would Young Living do this? Why would they get in the CBD world? There's so many CBD companies. I don't understand what's going to make them different. This is what makes them different. They are the only ones putting essential oils in CBD to create that entourage effect. But one other thing that they do that really helps with absorption on those CB1 and CB2 receptors is they add in a medium chain triglyceride oil, a fatty oil. I want you to think coconut oil. Sometimes, you know, in the bottle, it'll say MCT oil. That's medium chain triglyceride oil. Fatty oils are amazing for the body. We can absorb them. Our brain loves them. And so Young Living, in addition to adding in the essential oil terpenes, they add in MCT coconut oil so that our body can actually absorb. Now, about a year and a half ago, no, longer than that, maybe 2.5 years ago, I got into a conversation with a distributor with another CBD company. This was before Young Living was even talking about CBD. And she was telling me about how her company uses hemp oil, like from the hemp plant, as that fatty oil because it came from the plant. And she said it's so much better than MCT oil. Well, I actually did some research, and I don't believe that that is true because when you're using a medium chain triglyceride MCT oil, it is more easily absorbed by the liver. Whereas hemp oil, the body has to work so hard to absorb it. It is just not an easily absorbable oil. So just because it comes from the hemp plant that produced the CBD doesn't mean it's superior for absorption. So to create the entourage effect, you need the terpenes with the CBD isolate and then the MCT coconut oil for absorption. And that is precisely what Young Living has done, and they call it Smart Spectrum CBD. So let's talk about how you use CBD. So CBD is labeled for topical use. I'm going to get into some of the legal parts in just a little bit because I'm not going to talk about ingesting because it actually is illegal in the United States to label CBD for ingestion. So I'm going to get back to that because that actually drives me bananas when I see ingestible CBD. So it's labeled for topical use. So just put it on your skin, make sure it's a clean area, and vigorously rub a generous amount into your skin, like a dropper full. It's going to smell great. I'm going to go over the different oils that are in it. And, you know, just rub it into your body. You can put it on your temples, on your head, on your neck, on any joints that don't feel good. You can put it on your wrists, on the bottom of your feet, on your shoulders. You can put it wherever you want. And if you are generally sensitive about having things on your skin, start with the regular strength CBD and go slow. I'm going to show you in a couple of slides that there's 2 different strengths. So just use like the half of the recommended amount and just increase as you kind of stay in tune with your body about how you're feeling. And so while this product is labeled for topical use, there's just a couple of things to keep in mind, because CBD is broken down in the liver, and they really haven't done a lot of research on CBD because it's been illegal. Up until about 18 months ago, it was illegal. So they're not going to fund research. So there's a lot of research happening now. But when CBD goes to the liver, the liver breaks it down, and this is done by the same enzymes that a lot of pharmaceutical drugs are broken down by. So if you take pharmaceutical drugs, it's possible for your system to get a little overworked trying to break down too many things at once. So if you are on pharmaceuticals, please consult a medical doctor so that you understand what's happening with your liver. So I'm going to talk about Young Living's Nature's Ultra CBD and why this is really becoming one of the most popular and highest qualities on the market, because quality is one of the most important thing, as well as the honesty and the ethical standards and the transparency of the company, because labeling laws are non-existent for CBD products. So you really need to trust the company that you order from. So the first thing is purity is important. So Young Living has their seed to seal standard that they are actually going around the world and educating other companies doing plant-based work and farm-based work. Young Living is educating them on their standards. Young Living is setting the standard worldwide. And so our CBD is vegan, gluten-free, non-GMO, no THC. It is US certified organic. And why this is important is in 2017, there was a study done where they were testing a variety of CBD brands on the market. And this study found that 20% of CBD products contain THC, even though it was not labeled for having THC. And they found 70% of online CBD products were mislabeled and not disclosing the proper THC levels, which could get somebody fired from their job. So again, you've got to really trust the company, and you have to know that they are following regulations and your country's laws on this. And then when I look at all the organic CBD on the market, can they really say that their land is organic? Like, what is the past practice of the land that they are farming? That's where Young Living sets the standard for the world, because they have been obtaining their own farms in a very precise manner for over 30 years, longer than the company's actually been in existence. And so you could actually grow something in an organic manner, but like I talked about the tobacco fields in Kentucky, I don't think anybody can say that that land is organic. It's got a lot of heavy metals in it. So I've actually called a couple of CBD companies that labeled their CBD as organic. And when I asked them what was the past practice of that land, like what was growing on it, they wouldn't answer me. Well, that's not transparent. And then when I look to, at least here in the United States, the laws regarding CBD, CBD is not federally regulated, but false and misleading claims as well as mislabeling is regulated by the FDA, and they are shutting down a lot of CBD companies. And this is what the FDA says on their website about CBD. It is currently illegal to put into interstate commerce a food to which CBD has been added, or to market CBD as a dietary supplement. Every single place and store that I go into that sells CBD, they are labeled as a dietary supplement. They are labeled for ingesting. You'll see CBD dog treats, CBD capsules, CBD gummies, CBD food, and that is absolutely illegal. It just doesn't violate FDA regulations on their website. It is illegal. But FDA has their hands full, and they can't go around and shut them down. And so I look at this, And I look at these companies where their only job is to sell CBD. You would think that they would know the laws. Like, how was I able to just find this very easily? If they don't know the laws, they're not playing by safe methods. And so I have a real problem with those companies. And so when it comes to Young Living's Nature's Ultra and using an isolate versus a full spectrum, you never have to worry about THC. You never have to worry about toxins and heavy metals that were grown or potentially removed during the purification process. Their process, their smart spectrum process, is broader, more robust by adding in the terpenes through essential oils and putting in the MCT oil for the entourage effect. They're vegan approved. I mean, they are really the highest quality on the market. And I've tried other CBD brands, but once I learned about their deceptive labeling and frankly illegal labeling practices and the possibility of heavy metals and arsenic being in their product, I said no thanks. And this is all I use now. So, and I actually took the snapshot at a conference that I was at that was going through a lot of the research about what we need to be aware of. And one study found that 85% of CBD and marijuana products contain pesticides, solvents, and other contaminants. You don't want that in your body. If you're taking CBD, it's because you want to be healthy. So, you know, the labeling issue is a big problem, and FDA doesn't have a grip on it. I don't think they're going to get a grip on it anytime soon. So this is why I said a little while ago that you really have to trust the company. They need to be transparent and ethical and follow the regulations. And that's why I like Young Living's CBD. So here are the CBD options. So this Calm Rollerball is amazing. My personal rollerball of this has been absconded by my mother. Now my mother has late stage dementia and is in an assisted living facility. So of course I'm gonna let her have it because it really relaxes her. I love this at the end of the day. So this creates a very peaceful environment that will relax and quiet your mind. It's perfect when you're dealing with the stress of the day or just trying to wind down. So it can give you a really soothing, restful night's sleep. And it's infused with eucalyptus, frankincense, lavender, orange, vetiver, and ylang-ylang Young Living essential oils. And it comes in 2 strengths, 300 milligram and 600 milligram. And it smells amazing. So for those of you who are here, I'd love to see in the chat if this would be something that could help you with the stressors that are that just happen day to day. The second product is the joint and muscle balm. So, okay, I've got a testimonial about this. So this past February of 2020, I was working a very large women's expo. Probably 500 vendors. I had a Young Living booth and 25,000 women come through in 3 days. And the first morning, my bones ached so bad because I was standing on cement and I thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to make it 3 days? And the whole time I was there, I was using this muscle rub and putting it on the bottom of my feet and on my back. And within 30 seconds, the pain was gone. It was amazing. It came back less within about 15 minutes. So I put another application on and it went away. And what I noticed is the more you use the CBD, it's like going to the gym, and the more you lift that weight, the stronger you get. So the more you use CBD, the more your body adapts to it and it works on those receptor sites. So I am a big fan of this. And so you can use this to target sore, achy muscles and joints. It has a hot and cold sensation, and it has camphor oil, clove, helichrysum, lemon, peppermint, tea tree, and wintergreen essential oils that work really well together to soothe your body. Plus it's got the CBD in it. So again, this comes in a 300 and a 600 milligram. Let's see. Going back to the Calm Roll-On, I got a question. Does it make you drowsy or just relax you? It just relaxes you. So you can use it during the day, especially if you're really stressed out, because if you're working or if you're doing anything where you need to make decisions, if you are stressed, your brain cannot make good decisions. And so this is really beneficial to use that Calm Roll-On. All right, and then the third product is a dropper version of CBD, and it comes in 3 different flavors. So comes in cool mint, citrus, and cinnamon, and they come in a dropper bottle. They are in 2 strengths, 500 and 1,000 milligrams. So the cool mint contains CBD plus Young Living's peppermint and spearmint oils. So this is fantastic for digestion, which we know that CBD targets the receptor for digestion. So this is fantastic, and it is just very uplifting and supportive through the day. Citrus CBD contains Young Living's grapefruit and orange essential oils. So this is really good for your mood and emotions, and very, very energizing. And then cinnamon, this is the one that I have. This contains Young Living cinnamon bark essential oil, and it's just great for balancing the body overall and giving you a boost. This is absolutely my favorite, is the cinnamon. I just love it. It does so much. So I got a question in the chat of where do you apply it? Wherever you want. You can apply it on your wrist. That'll go into the body very quickly. You can put it on the bottom of your feet, which it'll go in more slowly, like a time release. Any place on the body where you feel that it needs CBD, and any place that is achy. So you can absolutely apply it anywhere. And then you could actually add some essential oils to the CBD. Now, I tend to not tinker with the brilliant blending that Young Living does, but you could. You absolutely could. So you could add additional oils for sleep, for stress, for digestion, for mood, for immune support. And so these are just some options of what you could do. You could also just use these oils separately from the CBD. So you could put the CBD on your wrist, and then you could add, lemon vitality over your chest. And you could even drink it, and it will provide you respiratory support. So there's a lot of ways that the oils and the CBD mix very well together. And so the best, most affordable way to get CBD is through a starter kit. And even if you're a Young Living member, you can get a CBD starter kit. So when I did the math of the starter kits, on the regular strength CBD kit, where you get the roll-on, you get the muscle rub, and you get the CBD oil, that starter kit is $165, but if you were to buy them individually, you're gonna pay $55 more. So this is a $55 saving off of the wholesale pricing. And then with the extra strength kit, if you were to buy all 3 of those oils individually, this kit is $120 off. It would cost you $370 to buy them individually. You can get them for $250. This is the way to go, unless you just wanted to try one of the products. And then if you're not a member of Young Living, this is what gets you in the door for wholesale pricing. And then you can just order at wholesale rates whenever you want. So I love that Young Living has made this possible, not only for people to get a wholesale account, but for those of us who do have a wholesale account, we can get this at an affordable rate. So that is all my information, and really what to me sets Young Living Nature's Ultra apart from all the other CBD is the testing that we do. We grow our own hemp. We're always testing for potency and purity. Our farms are in Colorado. The products have been subjected to rigorous laboratory testing, and it is free of THC and heavy metals and toxins. We never use harsh chemicals in the process. It is the isolate, adding in the essential oils and the MCT. It's natural, organic, vegan approved, gluten-free. I mean, the list goes on. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to message me. And for those of you who are here, if you still have questions, you can type them in the chat. So I'm going to go ahead for those watching the recording, and I'm going to end the recording. And thank you for joining in.